Jackson, and he went from having zero clients, no direction, and feeling completely lost with his agency to hitting 11k per month in just 45 days. And that's not even the best part. He did it working a few hours per day in the corner of his college dorm room without cold calling or spamming thousands of cold DMs. I've coached hundreds of agency owners over the last 4 years, and I knew Jackson had found something special. So I wanted to show you the hidden outreach method he discovered that exploded his agency to 11k per month in less than 2 months. I'll also show you how to use Jackson's secret strategy to print cash for your agency, the mistake he made when he was starting out, my strategy to avoid falling into the same money-burning trap, and the single most powerful thing an agency owner can do to 10x results. So let's get into it.
I always kind of knew there was money to make online. Like I tried, trading, crypto, dropshipping, like all the typical ones. I just kind of wasted a lot of money, and I think it's I didn't have any direction. And I was full-time in college, so there's a lot of distractions, like, parties and stuff like that. It's more of getting yourself into the headspace of like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and I need to do it. Like, putting in the hours day in and day out.
What is the best outreach method for agencies?
I don't remember how I found this outreach method, but when I did, it was just a golden ticket. I was cold calling for like a week and I landed 2 clients. I think it took me 4 months to get to 11k. I just failed so much. So finally seeing that money hit my account, whoa, like this is real. I actually
Yeah, it's a nice feeling. Okay, so today we have Jackson, and this is actually going to be a crazy case study video because Jackson is probably grown the fast of all the agency students I've had. He's grown the fastest. And I'm going to get my editor to put in a photo here of Jackson and me in London. Jackson actually won a competition inside the paid community. I ran a competition that not only who did the best or landed the most clients with their agency, but who engaged the most and helped other people. I was going to fly them to London for a weekend for a one-to-one mastermind, and Jackson actually won that competition. So I'm going to get my editor to put a photo up now of us in front of the London Eye. But pleasure to have you here, Jackson. Really excited to have a chat.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was, an amazing trip. Like I really just enjoyed experiencing London, and you were, fantastic guy. But excited to chat.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Do you want to give us a bit of a background on your story?
Yeah, so I grew up in Charlotte, and I always kind of knew there was money to make online, but I failed a bunch initially. Like I tried, trading, crypto, dropshipping, like all the typical ones, but I just kind of wasted a lot of money, and I think I didn't have any direction. There was just me kind of trying on my phone. Like there really was no structure, but eventually I kind of stumbled into SMMA, and we're here today.
It's kind of the classic entrepreneurial journey, isn't it? I was the exact same. Like, I think my first business was drop shipping, and then I did e-com, and then FBA, and then you eventually make your way to SMMA. It's kind of like the journey we all have to go on in order to get there. What was it that attracted you to SMMA generally?
For me, it was more of I actually got to build something out because I felt with drop shipping, it just kind of felt phony, like you're
Mm.
doing all these kind of like gimmick items, and there really was no structure, and
Doesn't really feel like an actual business. It doesn't, it's
yeah, it
kind
was
of.
just kind of like this trend that everyone was doing, and you're like, well, if I'm going to be a entrepreneur, I have to actually build something out, have something to show for it. And also, I think I always like helping people, and I think a big part of estimate that people miss is that you are helping people, and I think that's why it is such a good like model because with dropshipping, you're kind of like pulling one over, it's like, oh, I should buy my cheaper product for more expensive. But with SMA, it's actually like, okay, like these are business owners I want to help. And also you kind of gain some skills. Like Facebook ads is a great skill to have, just regardless of SMA, like for yourself, if you ever want to run ads for yourself, it's such a good tool that you can optimize later.
100%, 100%. I think it's actually, in terms of running a business, it's probably one of the quickest businesses you can do in terms of actually making real money. But like, that's a really good point. A lot of people forget, like, your job is literally to make other people's sales and get other people customers and revenue. So it's very much a win-win. And like going back to the drop shipping point, like it was one of my first businesses. And for me personally, it didn't really feel like a business. It kind of felt a bit weightless. Like you were kind of just sitting in front of a screen, you were trying to run ads, you didn't really care about any of the products, and it didn't really feel fulfilling. And that's why SMMA, that's why I really love SMMA, because you are literally changing people's lives, you're changing people's businesses, you're growing people's businesses. And you're getting paid very handsomely to do that. So it's very much a win-win, just like you said. I hope you're enjoying this student interview so far, and if these results have got you pumped to scale your own agency, I've got something very special for you. Below this video, you'll see a link where you can book a call for my one-to-one mentorship program. Inside, I'm guaranteeing you your first 5 clients on your agency journey. I can do this because I've crafted systems and strategies that I know work after coaching hundreds of other agency owners in your position to 10, 20, and even 30K per month. I only coach 10 people per month as it's all one-to-one and super custom. So if this sounds of interest, click the link below and book a call. Now back to the interview. So going back to, I guess, when you were joining the community and just before you joined Agency Accelerator, what would you say were kind of like your biggest weaknesses or your pain points coming into the community?
It was more of, I think I had the right idea. Like I had seen some, like a little fragment of success before I had joined, but with I think I was cold calling for like a week and I landed 2 clients, but when I hit service delivery, I crumpled and I churned instantly. I was like, okay, like I have no idea what I'm doing up until the actual SOMA point, that which is arguably the most important. So I was like looking online and I was just like what can I do? Like who can I talk to try to figure something out? Because you know, I'd watched the typical videos, but there's only so much you can gain online. Like I think that you can learn a ton, but there's also just so much information that it's kind of really hard to know like what's gonna work, what's not. And I just didn't really have like because I was in college full time as well, so really balancing that time to build out a fluent system, like I just had no direction. Like it was just kind of a jumbled mess of me throwing things at the wall and seeing what would stick. And I feel like I just saved so much time by joining the program where I'm just like, do this, this will work. And then I was able to kind of expand from there.
Yeah, 100%. Like pretty much, I say this a lot of the time when I get asked questions, like, information, there's such an abundance of information nowadays. You can pretty much get whatever you want on YouTube and in free courses and things like that. There is so much information out there. And even like in the YouTube space, everybody's trying to one up each other by giving out more free resources. So you can get the information if you want, but in my opinion, and I don't know if you agree with this, but what would move the needle or what's going to move the needle for you and your agency isn't information. It's what you do with that information. It's coaching, it's accountability, it's mentorship, it's being able to bounce things off someone, ask someone questions, because you're going to have so many questions on a day-to-day basis running an agency and running a business in general. If you don't have someone to bounce things off, you are going to have to make the mistakes and you're going to have to learn forward and you're going to have to fail forward. But obviously, that's going to take time. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take longer than if you had someone there, if you had a coach, if you had a mentor there to bounce things off and someone to ask questions to. It's just going to get you from A to Z. It's going to get you from 0 to 2, 3, 4, 5 clients so much quicker than if you try and make all the mistakes yourself.
Yeah, I just think I guess my favorite little like quote I heard, because I was watching a bunch of podcasts and it's like the only way to really time travel is to learn from someone else's mistakes. Because if not, you're just going to make the same things, the same mistakes that other people have, and you're really no farther along than if, you talk to that person, they said, oh, like make sure to steer clear of this, then you've already completely skipped that, the common mistake that everyone makes. For me, it was not having a concrete way of doing service delivery, which I know so many people have done. That's why there is such a bad name in the agency space of just like, people just trying to pull one over, scams, like things like that, like really terrible agencies that also oversaturate the field.
So in terms of when you were starting out, you're obviously, you're trying to grow your agency. Is there anything specifically or anything generally you see in the agency space that held you back, but maybe would hold other people back?
I think as far as agency ownership goes, it's very straightforward. It starts at the initial, there's such a learning curve that you need to devote a lot of time to it. And I was full time in college, so there's a lot of distractions like, parties and stuff like that. But it's more of getting yourself into the headspace of like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and I need to do it. Like, putting in the hours day in and day out. Like you've seen my schedule before. It was just
Yeah, Bill, I'll jump in there before you. Sorry to interrupt you, but
oh, good.
like anyone who says to me they don't have time to work on their agency, I literally reference you every single time. I've never seen a schedule like that in my life for anyone. Might even get Jackson to send me a photo of his college schedule and put it up on the screen here. It was insane. Like literally, if you can do it in that time frame, if you can fit in time to not only land clients but scale your agency to the levels you did in that time frame, like there is no excuse when it comes to time.
Yeah, it's just that people always throw around the word discipline, but that's what it was. Like I told myself I was tired of failing. You know, I tried all these other things, devoted so much time to them, and literally had gone in the red. And I was like, okay, I'm sick of it. Like I'm going to sit down. I'm going to do this every single day. And people would ask me like, can you hang out? I'm like, no, like I'm really am chasing this bigger thing. And some people got mad at me for that. Like I've been called an asshole before just for like they said, oh, you seem like you always have better things to do. It's like, well, in my mind at that time, like that it was better. Like, I was really pursuing
Yeah.
something greater than myself that a lot of people around me didn't really understand. So it's kind of just making sure you're in a mindset with a group that's like, okay, like how do we help you succeed? Like, what can I do? Like, let's kind of push you towards. I think that's a really good thing about having a community, was that I was very like on my own, because I kind of go to a smaller college where people are kind of like small town mindset, like oh, it's like, oh, I grew up here, I'm gonna stay
Yeah.
here. But if you want to really expand, you need people that are going to think outside the box, really push you in a direction that you want to go.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And like it comes back to the mindset. Like a lot of people, they kind of don't put a lot of value on mindset because they think it's kind of like woo-woo and it's not really going to move the needle. But as you said, like it's the most important thing because your mindset drives everything. Your mindset literally is what is going to drive your decision making. It's going to be behind what you do every single day. It's going to be behind your work ethic. And if your mindset's not in check, you're not going to get very far. And that's a perfect example there. Like, if your mindset wasn't dialed in, you would have said yes to those invites. You probably would have went out drinking more. You would have probably would have put less time on your agency. And then obviously as a result, you wouldn't have seen the results that you achieved. So the mindset is really, really important. That's why I put a lot of emphasis on mindset because it's literally the foundation for everything. Like if your mindset is kind of shaky, it's kind of weak, then that is going to result in, shaky, kind of weak results. So I think that's a really, really good point. And yeah, like obviously you got to be dialed in, you got to be disciplined because if you're not going to get very far. Like the agency space is competitive, online business is competitive, entrepreneurship is competitive. So it really, really starts with mindset and having that dialed in. And obviously, as we said before, like with the schedule you had, you really didn't have a choice. Like you had to be so, so disciplined to
Yeah.
even get anywhere.
There's also kind of with today's like influencers on social media, like there's so many ways people say to be disciplined, and I think it gets overcomplicated. Like, you have to have this crazy morning routine, you have to work out 6 times a day. I think finding how to be disciplined, but also in the way that works for you, because everyone's different. So if you're trying to be disciplined, like how I was disciplined, you might completely burn out, completely fail. And it's kind of finding that balance of, being disciplined while also maintaining your self sense of self within that. And that's kind of how I think you get that long-term discipline instead of just a short burst of motivation that you get stuck and then you're burnt out.
Tell us about what niche you went for and why you went for that niche.
I I was racking my brain with this because I know I was in the wedding planners and wedding events niche, and I can't remember why I got there, but I think it was that I knew I wanted to do high ticket because I'd always worked with really low ticket things before, and for me, it's like how many clients can I get to 10K a month without being swamped? And I'd done some research and it seemed that like typically people could handle 4 clients on their own without any external help. So I was like, okay, which niche is going to give me the biggest yield for, the amount of time I'm putting in?
Yeah.
And I might have been talking to my dad or something, or maybe it was my best friend, but it was my best friend because he was talking about Indian weddings. And he's like, yeah, like my friend just spent like 40K on a wedding. I was like, 40K, like that's that's pretty
Yeah, it's a
good.
lot of money. Sounds good.
Yeah, commission based. And I know like people, it might be taboo to talk about the money of it, but for me it was like I know that the higher ticket you go, the bigger rewards you reap for the same amount of work. If you're booking $100 meetings versus, $20,000 meetings, like it's the same amount of work on the Facebook ad spend. And typically wedding planners would have more capital to put into an external contractor. So I was just thinking just simply based off high ticket, like these people are going to have very, very high ticket. I haven't heard anyone else doing wedding planning. So it was also more of like an anti-saturation thing because, everyone starts with roofing and stuff like that. And I was like, how far away can I get from roofing? Because it just, it's going to be a lot easier if maybe there aren't as many other agency owners in the space you want to entry into.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a very, very interesting niche. I actually hadn't heard of it before myself.
Yeah.
And it's actually a nice segue into the next question, which is going to be an interesting one for the viewer. How long did it take you to land your first client?
Well, like I mentioned before, it was within a week of outreach, but those, and I landed two over cold calling, but those kind of churned. And then once I joined the program, I took a week to integrate and watch other courses and kind of build my systems out. And then once I started from there, I think it was a week. I was pretty sure where I got the actual first paying client, and that feeling finally of making something or building something out that had made me money was just such a sigh of relief, honestly, because, like I said, I just failed so much. So finally seeing that money hit my account was just
Yeah.
like, whoa, like this is real. I actually did
Yeah,
something
it's a
for
nice feeling. So it
yeah, like
took
I
you from when you joined the program, it took you about 1 week before you got your first paying client.
I would say we'll give it two because I told myself I didn't want to get stuck in the planning phase, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna give myself a week to watch the videos, find where my systems are lacking. Because when I knew I was gonna get a client, like I was very set in my mind, but I was like, when I get this client, if I churn it again, I'm gonna be so pissed at myself because I'd already technically landed two, but when it came time to do all the logistics, because I had no experience, I had no guide, I was like, I can't serve these people. Like I don't know what I'm doing. So
Yeah,
when I
100%.
did figure that out and I knew I had the kind of backing to like when I got the client, I was ready to go. It took about a week of just cold calling mixed with some Facebook group outreach. And that was kind of the magic duo that got it for me.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And then just going back to that, tell us a little bit more about that feeling once that first paying client, once that money hits your bank account. How did that feel?
It's just it's like this giant, massive sigh of relief because I think many entrepreneurs, like you said, have gone through that journey of just, you see the flashy guy with the car and it's like, I made $100,000 a month doing this. And you're like, oh, I could do that. And then you just, get sucked into the losing money and everything, like day trading or whatever. And you're
Yeah.
just, dang, like I'm out, 4K. And like, and when you're first starting, that's an insane amount of money just to put into something you really thought was going to work. So, when I'd finally invested, and I remember I had to be a lot more cautious this time. I wasn't trying to, because there's such like, whenever you get into the agency space, there's so many people like, oh, like buy this course, you need this CRM. But I think just trying to keep my costs low as possible so that I could do it for a long time, with just in case I didn't land a client initially. Like I just remember I was sitting on that call and they're like, okay, let's do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this person's gonna pay me money and I'm gonna give them a service. And that was just so exciting. Like I got to help them out. Like I really lucked out with my first client. I think her name was Courtney, and she was just so fantastic. And I think it's also important, like when you do land that first client, like make sure that that client is good because so many people want that first client so badly that they just sign a miserable person to work with, and that can really just sour the entire experience. But making sure that your client is actually going to, do the onboarding and you actually can get the show on the road because the first initial paycheck is great, but there is a lot of work to go into each client, and if you have someone that's just going to sit around and waste your time, you're going to be prevented from keeping other things. But that just feeling of just like, dang, like got the money, let's go, like let's get this done, and then just growing with that client as well.
Yeah, I love that. That's actually a really good point because if you take like someone who had an identical journey to you, but their first client was a complete pain in the ass and they were a nightmare to work with, like the chances of them going out and trying to get a second and third client and sticking with FMMA is probably a lot less likely because they've just had that terrible experience. And clients can be tough sometimes. I know that from experience. Like dealing with bad clients can really, really make you feel like you've just traded your 9 to 5 corporate journey for a high paying kind of self-employment role because you're just these guys think they're your boss and you're just listening to all the absolute crap of the day off them. So I think that's actually a really, really good point, and it can literally change the trajectory of your agency journey, that first client, if it's a really bad experience. But I want to move on to another question, and this is something I like to ask people, especially people who have done as well as you have done. What do you think, or in your opinion, what is the best part of the agency model or the best part of running an agency?
I think it's that feeling of confidence you get in yourself like, there is so many aspects and parts. I think it's watching yourself kind of build out and improve in your skills over time, and like watching your agency go from something where you really didn't know what you're doing to a concrete business that you can rely on and kind of come back to. And, I think it's the expansion part is really, really fun, like hiring people and getting to work with some like really cool guys that you just think like, wow, this is great. Like we get to, build something together. I think once you kind of move on from being solo to kind of having a team that you can all bounce off each other and kind of have your own community within the space that you built, it's just such a nice feeling of wow, like I really made something here that I can come back to, rely on, build out, like improve my skill set, and just you learn so much as well. Like it's such a learning experience of just online business, communication, like client management, just the things you get to do. It just feels cool. Like I think
Mm.
you feel really cool. You're like, wow, like I have an online business. Like if I wanted to right now, I could stop whatever else I'm doing, just sit down, work on this, and it's just a nice feeling of just watching something you built grow over time and grow with you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like, there's so many with the agency model. I think the biggest advantage of the agency model could be seen as a disadvantage, but I actually see it as an advantage because you have to spin so many plates, and you can't fluke growing a successful agency. Like going back to the drop shipping model or the maybe Amazon APA, something like that. Like you can hit the algorithm, you can hit like a good product, you can jump on, something that's trending. With the agency model, you have to be good at sales, you have to be good at service delivery, you have to be good at outreach. Like you have to put in the work in order to land clients. You'll maybe get one over the line, but if you're going to grow an agency, you have to be pretty good at a lot of things. And that's fulfilling. That's very, very fulfilling, knowing that you're sharpening your axe, you're getting good at these skills, and people are willing to pay you thousands of dollars to do their marketing. Like it's a very, very fulfilling feeling. And you definitely feel that. And it's like, especially when you land that first client, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe someone's paying me to do their marketing. Like that's how I felt when I landed my first client. Anyway, it's a pretty strange but exciting and incredible feeling.
No, it's wonderful. Yeah, it's so great.
I guess this is the big question, probably what everyone watching the video would want to know. What was your biggest month with your agency?
Now, I think recurring, it was 11K a month, and that's when I had the most clients, and that really was just kind of like the once over once. But I did have some big contract jobs for like 20K, so it was kind of sporadic, but I did once I started doing Facebook groups, I joined an Indian Facebook group, which had just I don't know if I was like on the hot season, but the amount of big commissions I got from, because I think Indians will typically spend anywhere from like 50 to 100K on a really, really big wedding. And just, the 20% commissions off of those really like, gave me some spikes in revenue. But I think like the average for like my entire time was 11K a month, but with, some really big contracts in there that might have bumped that up to like 30, like, but it wasn't like official over 30 over 30, but just
Yeah,
the stuff.
insane, insane. Like most CEOs work 30-year, 40-year careers to get that kind of monthly revenue. And like how many days or how many months did it take you to go from 0 to 11K? Like when was your first 11K month?
I think it was in October of last year, so a year ago from not exactly today, but like maybe a couple days in the future. But so I think I started September. I think it took me 4 months to get to 11K. I was pretty sure it might have been a little bit longer or shorter,
That's
but that's
incredible. That's
yeah.
insane. Yeah, like what other business model could you do? Like any other business model to get to 11K per month, like if there's
Yeah,
just
it's
no other business model you can move as quickly. And like that's just absolutely incredible. Like 11K per month after 4 months, as I say, CEOs work their entire careers, and you were able to do that in 4 months in college, in your college dorm, like sharing a room with another person. Like it's pretty nuts when you think about it.
I think there was a little bit of luck to it. Like I know I hate to say that, but I think it's really like I was put in the right place at the right time, especially with finding the program, with finding the people, picking the needs. There's so many factors that contributed to the early success, I think. But at the end of the day, it really boiled down was the systems created and like also like shown to me by the program that allowed me to kind of reach that, success so quickly. Because I think, like I said, you can get lost really easy easily in the space. And I think it's just having that direction and kind of cutting out all the mistakes was what kind of streamlined my process from 0 to 11.
Yeah. Well, I think like it depends what way you look at it. Like in business, of course you get good fortune, of course you get good breaks. Like when I first started, I got a ton of clients on Upwork. And you could look at that as being I got Upwork on the uptrend and I got a little bit fortunate. But ultimately, if you don't put yourself in that position, if you don't start a business, if you don't go out there and find out, okay, Upwork is a good method, or for you, Facebook groups was a good method, if you don't put yourself in a position where you have that knowledge, you get your own luck, in my opinion. So of course there's good fortune, but you absolutely have to put yourself in a position. And yeah, that's exactly what you did, which again leads into the next question, which I think is going to be an interesting one. I probably know what your answer is. Like, in your opinion, what is the best outreach method for agencies?
I I don't remember how I found this outreach method, but when I did, it was just a golden ticket. I remember I was like sitting in the library at school and I made a post in Facebook groups and I just got like 100 responses in an hour and I was like, "Oh my God, like what if I just stumbled upon like I remember I reached out to my friend Jordan who was also in the group and I was like, "Dude, like look at this. Like people are DMing me asking for the service." And that's really I think finding this, like if there was any amount of luck, it was just this Facebook group at this exact time because that singular post just skyrocketed me and like instantly. It was I don't know exactly what it is about Facebook groups that make them so crucial. And I do think it is niche specific. Like I did some testing with the same friend Jordan where he put his roofing agency through it and he didn't see as big of success, but it's just finding those massive groups with, 1 million, 100K people and, putting your post out there. Because even if, 1% of people who see it respond, that's still more than enough to get to insane amounts of revenue per month. And there are some tweaks you can make to make sure you're not like breaking Facebook's like terms of service, like making sure like you have like for them to DM you within the post. So like you're not, getting DM banned and everything.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I know
once you
what you
kind of
mean.
figure out those kinks, it's just warm lead after warm lead. It's like free paid ads, which is just insane, especially in my position where I didn't have a lot of extra capital, to pay for everything. Like that was just like free paid ads with your direct niche, like, and it was just, and I think there's also such a need for my services within my niche because I like I said, it's pretty odd, like pretty out there. Like not many people are offering, the more clients. Like that was just, oh, it was
Yeah, I
amazing.
remember at the time we were like communicating obviously in the community, and you like every time I spoke to you, you had like two or three new meetings booked, and I was like, what
Yeah.
is going on? On the other end, they're like, you are on fire. So yeah, I guess my next question will be, what were your favorite aspects of the agency accelerator community? What did you find the most value in?
I think it'd have to be the community. Like I mentioned before, I was very, very lonely at the start, because you're just like you are putting in crazy hours by yourself. Like even though I had a roommate, he wasn't doing what I was doing. So, you're locked in right after class. I think I got off around 2 and I'd be working till 10 or 12. So it's like 10 hours straight of, maybe not exactly 10 hours, but roughly of just isolation. Like you're in your room, you have your headphones on, like you're putting in the work. So I think just being able to step back and talk to people and improve at the same time was just a really nice feeling of camaraderie and being able to post your wins, ask questions with people who are doing the exact same thing, just having that community that was just full of awesome, amazing people that I never otherwise would have met and just having some people to help and also people to help you. And I think that's kind of just it was just such a good environment, such a good place. And also I think the course as well was really really helpful just like when I was starting out like once I hopped off the call and got in I was able to watch something figure it out and like I said it took a week and then there you go I was off and running.
100%. I think like that's a huge, huge aspect that people undervalue. Entrepreneurship can be lonely. Not can be, it is lonely. It's a very,
So
very lonely journey, and there's not many other people on the same journey. If you can tap in to a community, if you can tap into a network of people on the same journey and can lift you up in the low moments and obviously can celebrate the good moments with you, I think that is very, very important and something that obviously you can leverage massively as you're scaling your agency. So I 100% agree. I think leveraging a community of like-minded entrepreneurs and agency owners is going to massively, massively help you in terms of the ups and downs with your agency. We'll finish on this last question, and I'll phrase it like this. What would you say to someone who's watching this and maybe they're, in similar shoes to where you were when before you first started with Agency Accelerator, they're struggling to land their first couple of clients, maybe they have landed a client and they've churned because of service delivery, and they're just really, really frustrated with their progress, and they're maybe on the fence about joining Agency Accelerator. Kind of what advice would you give to that person who's on the fence?
I guess I'll have a story for this. Whenever I was on the call to get in, I didn't have the money to pay for the actual program. Like my bank account did not have it. And I remember I had been, like I said before, just like churning and kind of lost. But I was listening to this podcast and it was like people who have mentors are four more times likely to succeed. And I was like, I'll take a 4x improvement on my chances, like after failing so much. And it was just, seeing what was in front of me, seeing the community, seeing the course, knowing that the information was behind a paywall that I knew that if I landed a client, like it was just kind of being able to bet on yourself and take that like leap of faith into something that you didn't know exactly. Like you knew the information was there. It's just like, can I do this? It's more of just like that self-doubt of everything. And I was fortunate enough to have my roommate. He was like, listen, man, like I see you working 10 hours a day. Like, let me help you pay for this, pay me back when you're successful. And just like that vow of confidence in someone who saw what I was doing and bet on me enough. Like I was like, okay, if he thinks I can do it, I can do it. And then I was in, and that's kind of, the rest is history pretty much. But it's just like just knowing that you know what you're good at and you know that you're going to improve, and just being able to have that confidence, just step up to the plate and just take a hit at it. Because if you're there's a universe where I didn't join the program and I never ever got anywhere because I was just kind of, waffling around and get burnt out, and then it was over. But just, putting that leap of faith in. And also it is actually a pretty good, it kind of anchors you to it, because I think so many people have like they're like they try this new thing, they try this new thing. But I had spent a significant amount of money that I didn't have, and which I now had to pay back to one of my best friends. So it's like now I'm locked into this. Like let's get it going. Like let's succeed not only for myself but for the people I know I have to pay back too.
100%, 100%. You got to go all in, you got to commit, and you literally just got to be laser focused, laser dialed in. And obviously, you were like with that college schedule. I don't know if I would have been able to do it on that college schedule. That was an insane schedule, and you got some incredible results. And you're a credit to, the work you put in, and you were 100% a leader in the community, constantly posting, constantly engaging. And it's all about just committing and going all in, and you 100% did it in every single facet, and that's why you got the results you did. So huge thanks for jumping on, Jackson. Really, really appreciate it. Incredible journey, and yeah, I really, really appreciate you hopping on.
No, thanks so much for having me. It's been great.
I hope you all really enjoyed that student interview. It was a ton of fun to film. If you're currently scaling your own agency and struggling to land your first 5 to 10 clients, I still have a few slots open in my one-to-one mentorship program for this month. Inside, I'm guaranteeing you your first 5 agency clients, and the results we've been getting have been absolutely insane. So if this sounds of interest to you, click on the link below this video and book in a call. I look forward to speaking to you.